5 times a second, our mind scans our surroundings for threats. 5 times a second. That's a pretty interesting piece of information, don't you think? I mean, of course, it's happening so fast that we're completely unaware of it. 5 times a second, our mind is scanning our environment and deciding whether it's fight or flight. What kind of a life is that? 5 times a second, this mind, which is a threat recognition mechanism, this mind, which is fear-based, is imagining, calculating all the possibilities that everything it senses is a threat. No wonder everybody on the planet is insane. Not only that, this scanning is happening through the filters of our socio-cultural conditioning, our family brainwashing, and most deeply, the inherited trauma that we have, that has been passed down to us from our ancestors. Half the data points that we are calculating off of in our deep psyche have nothing to do with the experience that we've had in this lifetime, and have only to do with the trauma which we have inherited from our grandmothers or our fathers. Because on the mother's side, the trauma skips a generation. So if you thought it was crazy before, now it's totally out of control. I know a lot of your mothers. We practice. You know, when I was younger, coming out of the Catholic Church, I always felt like, you know, I really wanted to do something with my life that improved the quality of other people's lives. And in a way, this was like a thing in my generation. Lots of people wanted to make a contribution. They wanted to serve. They wanted to do something to improve, you know, the state of humanity in the world. Not so much today. Today, people want to write a piece of software that will make them $1 billion, you know, and then they want to retire to the Bahamas where they can keep all of their money in a triple secret account. But we wanted to do something. I suppose, you know, we heard that John Kennedy speech, ask not what your country can do for you. There came a point in my life in trying to do things to improve the quality of life around me where I realized I didn't know anything about any quality of life, and before I could do anything to help anybody else, I'd better start doing something to help myself. And I started doing yoga. I did yoga because it felt good. That's why I did it. Let's say I got dragged to my first yoga class. I also got dragged to my second yoga class. I think by the third time I went and did yoga, I actually experienced it, and it felt good. And it's that good feeling that keeps bringing us back to moving our bodies again. Because movement generates flow, and flow, you know, dissolves tension, allows our vital energy to flow, allows healing to happen, the quality of our life changes. We do spiritual work. We grow spiritually, not because we want to reach some exalted, plane in the afterlife. I was going to say, pardon my French, but that would be not such a good thing to say because I have people in the room who speak French. But but I was going to say, fuck that. We practice to become in contact with the only thing we have, which is this body-mind, and to begin to live in connection in this body-mind with the deeper places within ourselves where a genuine quality of life that transcends this mind, this fear-based phenomenon that is constantly scanning the horizon for threat, to live in a place within ourselves where we are forever safe no matter what happens, because we experience that dimension of us which exists beyond the body. And experiencing that dimension of ourselves that exists beyond the body, we realize there is absolutely nothing to fear. Wait, what about death? Death is an inevitability. We shouldn't be afraid of that. We should be embracing it. I always say to myself about death, you mean to tell me there is a day where the day is coming where I don't have to get up and go out of my room and listening to 500 people complaining? Sign me up. We practice to train ourselves to dissolve that socio-cultural conditioning which condemns us to normal. Condemns us to normal. And we practice to transcend, dissolve the conditioning, all of the attitudes, opinions, tensions, and trauma that is embodied in our family, and the deeper dimension of that which we have inherited in our psyche through them. And coming to that place of pure, unconditioned creative energy that is our essence, we can embrace our bodies. We can experience all of the joys of this body and all the creakiness and crankiness. We can embrace this body and experience it fully to the moment in which its resources are complete and we are released to live in the most refined dimension of our own being. Simply put, we practice to train ourselves to open our hearts and live from the beauty within ourselves, not, live in that part of ourselves which is constantly terrorized by our mind. And it is making this shift and dissolving this mind into our hearts and living from a profoundly open place that the quality of our life is transformed, and this experience of life on earth is continual, unbroken beauty. And I have to say, that's pretty much been our experience for the last 45 years together, hasn't it? Been pretty amazing. Very grateful to be with you all. Namaste.